Hi, mining community. Welcome back to another episode of the Deep the Mining podcast, the show that brings you the latest insights, thought leadership, and stories from across the global mining industry. In today's episode, we have Neil McMillan, chairman of MAX Power Mining Corp. With decades of experience in the mining and energy sectors, Neil is helping lead one of Canada's most exciting emerging energy stories following MAX Power's discovery of a subsurface natural hydrogen system in Saskatchewan. In this episode, we're going to discuss the significance of this discovery, the potential of nature hydrogen and future energy source, and what it could mean for Canada's role in the global energy transition. And there's a lot more to cover as well. So, Neil, great to have you on the podcast. How are you doing?
Well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, no worries. Appreciate your time as well. As we always start these podcasts off, just wondered if you can just tell us a little bit about, obviously, your career. And obviously, you've had a long career in the actual industry. So maybe start off from when you maybe graduated or got into the industry, and how your career has developed to what it has done today.
Well, thank you. I'm a resident, born and raised in the province of Saskatchewan, which is coincidentally one of the mining capitals of the world. Graduated from the University of Saskatchewan in 1972, spent until 1995 arguably in the finance business, and then transitioned into mining in 1995. I ended up running a gold mining company in the province of Saskatchewan, very, very successful company, and also at that time went on the board of directors of Cameco, the world's largest uranium producer out of Saskatchewan, and ended 6 years as chairman of the board of directors there in 2018. I had retired from the gold mining company in 2014. And then after a couple of years in so-called retirement, I joined the board of MAX Power, first entity I'd seen in a long time that got me really excited about getting back into the resource sector. And I was appointed to chairman there late last year, early this year, and just been hanging on to the handle since.
Great. Max Powers has discovered, obviously, Canada's first subsurface natural hydrogen system, and obviously a significant milestone for the province of Saskatchewan, for the company and obviously also the country. Just wondering if you can give us an overview of the discovery location and how the discovery at Lawson obviously came together.
Well, until about 5 years ago, no one even talked about or seemed to understand the potential for occurrences of natural hydrogen in the subsurface. And the Max Power organization was probably one of the first in the world to identify that possibility and started to assemble a land package in Saskatchewan in 2004. And with the work of our tremendous technical team, identified the possibility of drilling into natural hydrogen reservoirs underground. We did that successfully in November of 2024, and demonstrated early on the immense potential for size here. I read that the U.S. Geological Survey, or representatives of it, said that they believe now that there is more natural hydrogen, subsurface natural hydrogen, than in North America than natural gas. And if you only produce 2% of it, their suggestion was you would have enough of a clean energy source for the next 100 years. So that gives you some idea about the possible scale. We've worked hard here to demonstrate its existence in the province of Saskatchewan. And we have, as the world knows, the largest uranium reserves in the world, the largest potash reserves in the world. And it looks like now we may very well have discovered the largest natural hydrogen reserves in the world. And that isn't unrelated to the success in uranium and potash. The geological structure that's necessary to create natural hydrogen reservoirs is the same one that created the potash industry and the uranium sector. Basement rocks that are conducive to generating, in this case, natural hydrogen. and then most importantly, a seal on the top of that structure that prevents the natural hydrogen and other gases from migrating upwards. It traps them, and in this case, in large reservoirs. We believe our geotechnical people have demonstrated that they can identify these potential reservoirs with the drilling of our first well, which generated 26% natural hydrogen, up to 8% helium, which is a real bonus, and that gas flowed to surface. We're in the process of trying to determine its commercial viability, but in the meantime, we have accelerated our knowledge of the potential reservoirs significantly, and we're moving quickly to start drilling a series of additional wells that we believe will exceed by a margin the first well that we successfully drilled.
What's so special about natural hydrogen, and why should we care about it when we're already using sort of other forms?
Well, I mean, hydrogen itself is becoming rapidly accepted as a tremendous source of zero carbon energy. It's got 3 times the energy capacity that gasoline has, for example, and zero carbon emissions. The all of the and it's a big industry already. All of the hydrogen used is currently produced, manufactured, 90 some percent of it from hydrocarbons, so it's not necessarily very clean energy. A small amount of it through electrolysis, through running electricity through water and fracturing it into hydrogen molecules. It's expensive. Probably in the range of $6 to $10 a kilogram for a kilogram of hydrogen. We believe we can produce natural hydrogen, which is already processed by nature. We believe we can produce that for potentially 50 cents a kilogram. And the size of that possibility is simply staggering, how big it is. Our initial discovery at the Lawson site is on a structure that is 500 kilometers long, and we believe has the potential to host natural hydrogen reservoirs all down its full length. And we're about to demonstrate that again with the drilling of our next series of wells, which will start quickly, and on targets that we believe exceed the potential for the first successful well we drilled. So the technology is coming along rapidly. We've employed all of the seismic we could get our hands on, and there's lots of that in Saskatchewan. All the original oil and gas wells are logged, and we have access to that information. And then we added 3D seismic over the Lawson area where we drilled the first well, and it showed us potentially very significant reservoir in that area. So we're moving very rapidly and just getting started with demonstrating the commercial viability and the potential for this particular project. But it's on a land package that is huge. We have a very large land package. We're in a great environment from a regulatory point of view to progress quickly, and we're very well financed and generating a lot of interest. So it's an exciting time to be at Max Power.
This episode is sponsored by Mining International. In today's market, finding the right mining talent isn't easy. Mining International works closely with mining companies to identify and secure senior and technical professionals through a tailored search approach. If you're hiring or exploring your options, you can contact Rob Tyson via the show notes to start a conversation today.
Natural hydrogen's obviously not the easiest energy source to find, but from what I understand, the Genius trend holds basin scale potential. Just wondering, you just tell us a little bit about the geological conditions required for accumulation and whether or not Lawson has all of them. And I suppose you can also cover it, even if there is obviously accumulation, how can we be sure its stores won't be depleted quickly? And also, is hydrogen reactive or difficult to manage underground?
Well, number one, in order to have the accumulation of hydrogen, you need the source rocks to generate the hydrogen through reactive processes. Those rocks, basement rocks, we call them, are 2 kilometers deep. So they're deep wells to drill. They generate the hydrogen through chemical interaction, water with these source rocks, etc., and it continues to regenerate. It migrates upwards. It's the molecules are light. They migrate upwards, and they need to be trapped in order to form on a reservoir. And in our case, we have the source rocks at depth. We've got the channels that the gas can migrate upwards, and we have the traps to stop them. And in this case, a very important trap called evaporite, or in effect, it's a layer of salt potash, seals the natural hydrogen and helium from migrating anywhere else. So those potential reservoirs we can identify, we believe, from 3D seismic, et cetera, and we're proving it with the drilling. And this is such a big scale of potential. We say to people, it goes 500 kilometers north to south. That's one part of our projects. And we go right down to the U.S. border, and borders, geology knows no borders. So it's possible that this very, very large structure continues on. We have identified dozens of additional targets along that trend. And we're just getting started with it. So what the U.S. Geological Survey had said about the potential amount of natural hydrogen, it makes perfect sense to us, given the size of this structure. And we don't know where it ends. I mean, wherever the evaporite, the salt barrier exists, and that's from one side of our province to the other, could easily host natural hydrogen. So very new concept about where it exists. I mean, 5 years, where it exists, where it might exist, and how it's generated. And we're scrambling just to stay ahead of it, and we're way ahead of anybody else with respect to our understanding and our we think near commercial capability on the wells we're drilling.
Out of all the places around the world, why is Saskatchewan considered a unique perspective? And I wonder if also you can talk about the infrastructure around the project, and obviously also what the community says about the project and what you're doing.
Firstly, where we drilled this first well is on farmland in the southern third of the province of Saskatchewan, and that province is as big as the state of Texas. So there's just huge farms in this area, a very receptive farming population to what we're doing. We had great cooperation locally on the first well we drilled, Lawson number 1, and we expect that to continue with our, I believe, continuous series of wells being drilled going forward. The province of Saskatchewan itself is, of course, very amenable to mining projects because of their experience with both uranium and potash. So we have a very supportive regulatory environment, very supportive local communities. We're 40 kilometers away from the nearest city, which happens to sit on what we call the end of the industrial corridor. And that community rushed to do a memorandum of understanding with us about potentially taking production from our natural hydrogen wells. So far, everything is really quite well lit. It's green lit in terms of support and possibilities. The only thing that slows us down at all is our thorough technical analysis and verification of everything we're doing. But still, it's going to happen very quickly. We have a saying, it's not going to be very long to go from mining to molecules, months to molecules. And having experience in the uranium and gold mining sector, you're talking years and years and years from a discovery to commercial production. And in our case, it could happen in months. There's not a lot of work to be done. Once you produce gas to surface, to process it. In our case, we may have the possibility to separate both helium and natural hydrogen and either deliver it in its current state or process it at site for future commercialization. And that's going to happen much more quickly than people would assume.
You've obviously been in the energy business for decades. You served as the chairman of Cameco Corp, and you were the president and CEO of Claude Resources and led Saskatchewan's first gold mining company. And your leadership contributed to Claude's eventuality of 337 million pound buyout by Silver Standard Resources back in 2016. You're obviously now the chairman of MAX Power. How does the potential scale of what the company's evaluating today compares to opportunities you've been involved with in the past? And what sets this opportunity apart from those other companies?
Well, number one, I've said to others, I believe that our natural hydrogen project has the potential to develop into the third major international producer of critical resources, uranium, potash, and certainly based on what we see in terms of the size and the potential market, that natural hydrogen in Saskatchewan has the potential to be that big an industry. So as I say, it was the first thing since I technically retired that got me interested enough to get back into the resource sector, and that initial optimism is certainly been reinforced in a major way since we've started it. Since I got there, and the work has been ongoing. We have the largest and maybe the most successful resource investor in the world, Eric Sprott, who's stepped up and taken a 20% interest in Max Power. And virtually everything he does has been in precious metals, and this is one of his first forays outside of that. And I understand that he has significant big picture vision and experience, and is very enthused, and his significant investment in our company warrants that view that this has the potential at scale. And we talk about that at scale. This is not an isolated discovery at Lawson, the first well. It's on a structure that we already know is huge. I mean, our next well we drill is on a bullseye target from 3D seismic that's on 14.5 square kilometers of property. And that's one of multiple potential targets down the Genesis trend, again, all the way to the U.S. border. So to suggest that this could become the third mineral producer in the province that's world scale, in my view, is not an exaggeration.
And obviously, talking about borders, I guess one thing that gets overlooked is obviously the sheer scale of obviously this land position. And as you mentioned, the Genesis trend extends roughly 475 kilometres across Saskatchewan. But geology doesn't recognise political borders. How far could this system ultimately extend? And is it reasonable to think the trend continues south into the United States?
It would be reasonable to assume that. As I say, that geology knows no borders, and based on our work on our Saskatchewan land package, it would make sense to us that it extends beyond the Saskatchewan U.S. border. There will be a horde of other companies coming along behind us to pursue this opportunity, and that always happens. It doesn't matter whether it's a gold discovery or you see what's going on in the uranium sector today, and particularly in Saskatchewan. The host of other companies, which will be very good for this industry, and there will be many of them trying to duplicate what we're doing. We are way ahead of the rest of the market, given our land position. Our technical team cannot be underestimated. We know up to this point way more about the existence of natural hydrogen subsurface than I believe anybody else does. I mean, other companies are pursuing the ability to drill into good rock and create natural hydrogen reaction underground. It already exists here in very large amounts. So I'm really excited about what our next series of wells demonstrate, particularly the first one on this bullseye target close to our existing Lawson well. The other thing about this particular business is the potential for what do we do with the natural hydrogen when we produce it? We could process it in a simple process, not very expensive, to separate the gases and then transmit it via pipeline. For example, the government of Alberta next door and the government of Saskatchewan as well are prepared to blend up to 20 to 30% natural hydrogen with their natural gas distribution networks, which is a staggering amount in Western Canada. That's one possibility. The other possibility that's rapidly becoming understood is for standalone data centers to set up near your production facilities. We have the ability to generate electricity at site, zero carbon electricity. We have an added benefit at the base of where we produce this hydrogen from exists a very significant amount of brine, underground water. And the data centers need two things. They need electricity and they need cooling water. And if you can deliver that at the same site, standalone, electricity and the cooling water, it will attract a lot of attention from the data centers, which has already happened in our case. People are watching what we're doing. So we don't today know what we will end up doing with the hydrogen we produce. As I said, we're only 40 kilometers away from Moose Jaw, which is on the west end of an industrial corridor that the province of Saskatchewan has established. And all along that corridor, and it runs for about 70 kilometers east-west to the city of Regina, we have potash mines, other industrial functions, federated co-op, big oil and gas refinery, which produces hydrogen in an industrial basis now, but could use lots of natural hydrogen. And then right at the east end of that, Bell is in the process of building the first major data center in Saskatchewan. And once we demonstrate, if we can, that we can have a standalone production facility with both electricity and cooling water, the number of possible locations to build those data centers is as broad as our ability to identify and produce new natural hydrogen sources.
Obviously, carrying on, obviously the world is talking about data centers, AI, and obviously power demand. How has that obviously changed the way governments, industry groups, and potential partners are sort of looking at natural hydrogen compared to, say, 12 months ago?
The speed with which the realization is growing surprises me. I've never been associated with anything like that. And we know they're watching. Our chief executive officer has been invited to speak in Japan and France and Washington, D.C. in the last few months. And people are extremely interested in what we're doing. Most of those countries are well advanced along the very expensive process of producing industrial hydrogen for use in heavy industry, etc. For them to look at us as a potential major producer of low-cost natural hydrogen is obvious, and they've been approaching us. We've got, as our CEO says, this is like drinking from a fire hose. We're just getting called and contacted constantly. People that are technically capable of participating in the AI data center creation, other uses. I mean, it's really substantial. I can look ahead here, and it's not 50 years ahead. I can look ahead in 5 years or 10 years and see natural hydrogen as the major new source of energy in the world. Industrial hydrogen is currently transported in containers, very expensive, but it can be done. And that's industrial hydrogen that's costs a lot of money. If we're capable of producing natural hydrogen as inexpensively as we think, the innovators will be all over this source of energy in terms of technology, transportation, and use. I mean, people are working hard now to develop aerospace, aviation industry use of hydrogen. You can't really fly jets with EVs because the batteries are so heavy, but hydrogen-driven jet engines don't require batteries. And that work is already being done, I think, by Rolls-Royce, developing that. It just doesn't stop. Heavy industry in Europe, transport trucks, again, on the EV basis, are limited in what they can do in terms of distance and weight. Um, but a natural hydrogen source would be a boon to the industry. Marine traffic, again, the same thing. There are already hydrogen refueling stations in places in Europe for automobiles. That's got a ways to go, but as we've seen with EV power stations, once you start to build that infrastructure, that industry can develop really, really quickly. So, as I say, it startles me how fast this is going. You had suggested, what do we know now that we didn't 4 or 5 years ago? And it changes every month. There is a new layer of possibilities associated with the use of hydrogen broadly, and natural hydrogens fit in there because of its cost, availability, and the potential amount of it is got people really quite excited.
Obviously, you mentioned looking out 5 to 10 years. What about if we look out into, I suppose, the longer term future? If you look out maybe 50 years from now, and factor in obviously the geopolitical and macro landscape, what do you think energy source diversification will look like then, and why?
I would look at it based on my background as dominated by small modular nuclear reactors and natural hydrogen. And the hydrogen has multiple advantages over nuclear production, but nuclear production is effectively zero carbon, very reliable. And the big question that exists there, certainly in 50 years, is can we find and produce enough uranium to fuel what I believe will be that booming industry? And we're building an SMR, small modular reactor, in Canada already, and I think they will come very, very quickly. But quickly for a small modular reactor is 8 or 10 years. In 50 years, if the pundits' view of the amount of natural hydrogen in North America is accurate, this could very easily be the dominant energy source in use broadly across not just North America, but around the world. There's a lot of work being done right now on hydrogen-driven engines, mostly for heavy transport, but Toyota's been dabbling in that business for automobiles, etc. So as I say, innovation is going to catch up very quickly to this possibility. And we have great technical teams in Saskatchewan, great universities, two of them that are working, getting their toe in the water here, and others around the world that have immense capacity to help develop the natural hydrogen sector in the world.
And lastly, and concluding, what's the short to medium term outlook for Max Power, sort of over the next 12 to 18 months? And is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience?
Well, 12 to 18 months is going to be a lifetime in terms of what we're doing. The next really major move, we're doing a lot of work on the first well in terms of its flow rates and porosity and capacity to produce. And that, in my view, will be a timid start to what should be terrific drill results going forward. That's going to start quickly. Our drilling and of consecutive wells, and I believe we won't slow down. There won't likely be a point in time where we stop drilling. We'll be keeping up with the analysis of our results, and at the same time, the work on commercialization with the experts on plant construction and contracts, etc. At 12 months, this will be a radically different company. people around the world will be starting to recognize the scale of what we're working on. This is not like the gold mining business where you go in and drill one hole, and follow up. This is going to happen very quickly. So 12 to 18 months, this will be a different company in my estimation, 12 to 18 months from now. And I see that as being all good.
Great. Neil, really appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for giving us an overview of Max Power and obviously speaking about all things natural hydrogen. If our audience wants to follow your story, if they've got any questions they want to ask, know more about natural hydrogen and what you're looking to achieve, how can they go about doing that, and what social media platform channels are you on?
Well, I'm no expert on that other stuff. Just go to our website and get a hold of our CEO and or his designates. They're technically way more competent in what's coming and what we're doing than I am. The big picture to me warrants enthusiasm from potential investors and participants in the sector. So go to the website and get a hold of us and stay tuned.
Yeah, we'll include those all in the show notes accompanying this episode for easy access. So wish you well for the remainder of the year going into next year. And like you said, your company's going to be totally different in the next 12 to 18 months. So perhaps you want to come back on the podcast between 12 and 18 months time and give us an update on what you've achieved then. And obviously the company would have been different, so there'd be a lot to talk about. So more than welcome.
Thank you. I definitely look forward to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that episode. As always, appreciate your continued support. Please keep sharing these episodes far and wide. We're speaking about natural hydrogen and another energy play that can be and is looking likely to be a new energy that's going to be entering our world, and not just the natural energies that we currently have. So appreciate if you can share this episode far and wide to educate our mining industry. Thank you again for listening, and until next time, happy mining.